one-day event on April 18th. The print folder is actually here. I'm going to invite him to come in just a few minutes. Joined here today by Chief Hayes and Sergeant Patrick. They're kind of the dynamic duo who have been sort of coordinating all of our logistical efforts for the past few years related to Orange Crush. Also in the audience, Councilman Blue and Hale, and City Council has provided very strong support. So just to kind of rewind the tape a little bit, an event called Orange Crush has been coming to Tybee Island since 1989. Started off as a Savannah State University spring break event, and great college kids coming out having a good time toward the end of the school year. In the subsequent years, again, you guys have lived here for a while, know this, it sort of transformed from a college event into a larger event involving lots of different actors, some bad actors, who were trying to take advantage of large groups of individuals in going to the same spot at the same time. And we had problems. We've always had logistical problems. We had one road coming in on and off the island. But this was people coming with weapons, drugs. There was some violence that happened, and not every year, but some years it was just a bad situation. So it was up and down. 2023, it got really bad on Tybee. It was just a very, very large crowd. It was totally impermanent. We had lots of different people who were coming in, doing different promotions. We had several serious incidents that happened on the island, and a feeling of general lawlessness. We sort of rethought the process led by Chief Hayes, Sergeant Patrick. They went out, looked how other communities were handling large spring break events, and just sort of saw what was happening across the U.S. at that time. Came back with a new game plan, and it was mostly a heavy law enforcement presence, heavy traffic control, limit where large congregations of individuals could come game plan. And in 2024, it was a largely incident-free Orange Crush. But, at the same time, it was still fairly chaotic, right? We had to set up multiple different weekends at that time because the different promoters were promoting different weekends. That cost a ton of money for Tybee. It also added a lot of uncertainty for residents, but also for visitors coming in. They just didn't know. In 2025, we ended up beginning conversations with Mr. Stephen Smalls, who's in the audience today. He submitted I think Tybee's first true complete permit application. And we began a process of negotiating with him about what it would take to hold a permit for this event. He successfully received a permit at that time in 2025, and it was largely, I think, the most organized Orange Crush event that we had in about 40 years. And a lot of the credit goes to the Schmalzen's planning effort, as well as the excellent logistics provided by Tybee Police in code compliance. It was all hands-on deck activity, and following the 2025 event, we had two different individuals who put in permit applications, Mr. Smalls and another individual, and we had a competitive process. And this fall, we awarded a permit to Mr. Smalls again. Very, very similar event to last year, essentially the same footprint. The event is now called Crusv Reloaded. One stage on the beach, no vendor activity, no activity really off the beach. And again, a 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Event time frame. And here are the requirements that he's required to have: a security contract, ambulance contract. The idea is we have one ambulance on the island. We want that ambulance to be available to respond to calls from residents. We didn't want to tie up that ambulance with calls from event-related activities. So we made Mr. Smalls hire another ambulance, and he has procured that. We also require a sanitation contract, and on top of that, Mr. Smalls has provided a volunteer sanitation team out there, as well as provided a certificate of insurance. Here's the approved site plan Mr. Smalls provided. Again, it's a fairly contained footprint between the pier and the Burks crossover, mostly comprising VIP tents, sort of surrounding the stage. Similar to what it looked like last year. It's got a different tent or a different stage vendor this time, so it's going to have a slightly different look, but probably about the same size stage. This is the size crowd that we had last year. We estimated about 30,000 people throughout the day. And I just want to call out, I had mentioned the volunteer sanitation crew that Mr. Smalls provided. That was, I think, one of the real bright spots of the event last year. They worked hard. We had our team that worked shoulder to shoulder with this crew, with wore uniforms. We were sweating it because this was on Easter weekend last weekend, and we had a sunrise service the very next day. They stayed out late into the night with lots of support from the community. Lots of volunteers came out, and the next morning the beach looked great. And I think Tybee would breathe this out of relief. It was great, and I felt proud to be out there on the pier on sunrise service on Easter morning. I'm going to ask Mr. Smalls to come up and just say a couple words really quick about the event and how things are going.
Thank you. Hello everyone, my name is Stephen Smalls, the organizer for this year's event. It will look similar to last year. There will be no major changes. I want to thank the city for backing me up and all the support that they have given. It's made things a lot easier. We're going to have a lot of entertainment, smooth, and I'm going to keep it a college-based crowd. I'll try my best to work with my team to make sure it doesn't get out of hand. Security is on deck, and they will be in the sand making sure no glass bottles and rules are followed for Tybee Island Beach.
Yep, if you could just stick, we're going to do questions afterward. You can just stick around for that.
Okay, if any questions, I'll be able to answer them.
All right, thank you. So again, the city's response is primarily focused on traffic and safety. I'm going to invite Sergeant Patrick and Chief Hayes to come up and talk more specifically about it in a moment, but there will be checkpoints. We will have support from GDOT in the county. SEMA will be setting it up as an emergency operation, providing support. We will be setting up the emergency lane, center lane, throughout the island, as we have for previous events, but also for 4th of July over the past several years. Additional ambulance, medvac plan, barricades blocking residential streets. Our primary focus will be really keeping most event-related traffic out of our residential areas. In parking, we don't want a bunch of people parking on lawns across the island as they have in the past. We'll have that message board is messaging crowds coming in. And as I mentioned, the parking lots are really dedicated for logistics and for workers of downtown businesses and also residential parking. So again, 14th Street, there'll be a tow yard set up in there. We'll be staging barricades in there. All Mr. Small's back of the house stuff will be staged over there. And the Strand parking lot will be again decal parking only. We're going to invite Sergeant Patrick to come up and talk about barricade deployment. We're shrinking the footprint of the barricades this year down Butler. And our goal is to put them out as sort of last minute as we can to keep parking open as long as possible.
Thank you, Brett. Good evening, Walter Hattrick, City Marshal for the City of Tybee Island. What you see here is a timeline for barricade deployment. There is actually Saturday and Sunday we bring in approximately 24,000 linear feet of barricades and stage them in the 14th Street parking lot and 15th Street parking lot. But beginning on Monday, you'll see some initial staging happening around the island. We'll be staging barricades, sections of barricades along the north and south corridors of Butler Avenue and also some corridors of Highway 80. we'll begin distributing those blocks of barricades into some of our interior streets and our non-primary corridors. We will keep parking spaces open as much as practical for the staging. Like I said, we'll put these blocks of barricades out as opposed to putting all the individual barricades out, linking them all together and blocking parking. On Tuesday, the 14th, we will expand staging. Those will, our crews with United Site Services and myself will continue distributing all those barricades all over the island. We will verify in the field the correct placement of those based on our plan that we have, and then we'll adjust all of those that are staged as needed depending on different conditions that occur. Wednesday, April 15th, you will not see very much in the way of placing the barricades, but what we will be doing is we will be reconfirming with staff and reviewing plans and making any strategy adjustments as we need to before we get to Thursday. We'll confirm street closures with our teams that will occur on Friday evening. These will be our westbound streets from Butler Avenue into the interior of the island, southbound streets from Highway 80 into the interior of the island, and then some areas of the north end, including Solomon Avenue. And then we will confirm the plans with our teams for the South End Business District, which will include keeping Butler from 15th Street South down to Inlet and Shoes open for as long as practical, even into early Saturday morning if possible. Butler Avenue east on Tybee, keeping that open, and then in particular keeping Tybee open into Saturday morning as much as practical until the police chief tells us that we need to close that down. And then keeping that 17th Street loop, which helps us turn cars around on the south end and move them back up towards the north end. Keeping that open as long as possible so that we don't inconvenience guests and residents on the island any more than we have to. And then Thursday, April 16th, again, is continual reassessment. All we do while we are putting these barricades out is reassess how we're doing it and how we're placing those. It's kind of a continual thing that it just never ends. So we will be installing other barricades in primary corridors that need extra attention. We will be focused on maintaining traffic flow, both while we are doing this and the thoughts of how traffic will flow once everything is connected. And then we will expand into our secondary, not primary corridors to place barricades. Then Friday, April 17th, and early Saturday, April 18th, will really be our full build out. That's when things on the south end in that business district will begin being linked together, while being conscious of the businesses and their need to bring equipment and supplies and those sort of things in on Friday. We will reinforce any critical areas that you need to reinforce, and then we will conduct inspections of all of those barricades to make sure that they are installed the way in which we want them installed, and any deficiencies will be addressed at that time. And then Saturday morning, we will go operationally ready. We will secure any barricades which were not completed on Friday. We will confirm all of our emergency access points into our residential areas and other areas. And we will begin full staff deployment at 0700 hours, which is 7 in the morning. In our strand lots, which will be for decal parking only. And then at 0800 hours for all other locations along that barricaded route. And then after we do those deployments, we will transition into our full event operations, which will be directed primarily from that point forward by the chief of police. And then Sunday will be sustained operations for those same areas. We never know what we are going to receive the day after. So we will maintain the barricades and staffing in our strand lots along our barricaded route. And we will monitor that continually, as well as the police chief. She will monitor all of that as well. And then we'll adjust any operations as needed at the direction of the police department. And then Monday morning, really even Sunday after the call is given for us to begin breaking down and going home, which we may start that early. But we will begin disassembly at least by Monday morning to reopen all of our primary corridors and begin removing our barricades and start that cleanup of equipment and all of those things. And that will continue into Tuesday, the 21st. But there still should be Wednesday and Thursday, there will probably still be equipment in the 14th and 15th lot. It is 24,000 linear feet of barricades, which takes anywhere between 10 and 14 tractor trailers to get all of that equipment in and out of one small parking lot. So it does take a little bit of time to move those things around. So we do expect to see some remnants of that past Tuesday. And that is your barricade deployment. Chief.
I'm going to invite Chief Hayes to come up. Clearly, throughout this process, public safety is the number one priority. That's what we're mostly focused on. That's the core of our operation, and will remain throughout. Tybee, just want to sort of send this message. Tybee is friendliest community in the Southeast, and that's our brand, right? Is we welcome all to Tybee Island. We welcome those who are coming on April 18th to Tybee Island. But for those who are planning on coming to Tybee, who are coming there for other reasons and coming out and having a great time, enjoying all the beauty and fun that Tybee has to offer, we're going to be prepared for you. We have several hundred officers, we have checkpoints, and that will not be tolerated. So it's not a place for anyone who's not coming out for any other reason than to have a great time on Tybee Island. So with that, I'm going to invite up Chief Hayes.
Thank you, City Manager. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Tiffany Hayes, and I am your Chief of Police here for Tybee. I've been the Chief for a little over 3 years, and I've worked with the Police Department for over 29 years, so this is not my first event. 2023, we all know, went south. For those of you that were here to see it, it was an unpermitted event at the time, and myself and Sergeant Patrick did go down to Miami Beach. We have some close connections down there to see how they handle their spring break events, and our takeaway were, the city owns the parking lots. There are parking lots. We need to use them for us, for logistics, for safety purposes. Our parking lots were never safe during any of the other events. And by shutting them down and using them for our services, city services, it's made the event a lot safer and a lot easier for us to get around. So Thursday, you will see an influx of law enforcement. Our state partners will start arriving, so they will be joining us Thursday. There will be road safety checkpoints, so please make sure if you're going to move around the island that you're properly prepared to be stopped at these road safety checkpoints. That's for the safety of the island and the visitors coming to the island. Here are the numbers from 2024 to 2025. You will see some changes in these. Some are a little bit higher, some are a little bit lower. 2024 was not a permitted event. 2025 was a permitted event. We still had all of our state partners down here with us, but it's kind of a difficult situation to invite people to come to your jurisdiction and then start hammering away at citations. So we decided to give warnings and a little bit more breaks, to let people know this is the way it's going to go. If you can't follow these rules, then you will be arrested and you will get a cite. But because the permit was issued, we decided to give a little bit of leniency for citations and arrests made. We are all hands on deck. This is a huge strain for your public safety. This is a huge strain on your police department, your fire department, EMS personnel, all city staff, because we bring in all city staff, including water, sewer, DPW. They are here to stand beside us throughout this whole weekend, manning corners, manning gates, manning fences to let us in and out, delivering food to us, delivering water to us. This is a whole city function. The This is just not your first responders, but it is a huge undertaking by the city and the staff. It is a strain. Our officers work 12 to 16 hours, sometimes a little bit more. We don't like to push more than 16 hours, but because of the number of guests that we're seeing coming, sometimes it works that way that we have to push a little bit further than 16 hours. We're very appreciative for our state and local agencies joining us, and they work alongside of us just as long, putting in those long, hard hours. So if you see them out, just say thank you for your service, thank you for being here, thank you for protecting the island, the citizens, the guests, the students. And if you have a complaint, please direct them to me. I'll accept all complaints and I'll address all complaints, but just know this is a very long, hard weekend on your public safety and your city employees. So these are the additional staff that we're bringing in, our partners. Obviously, Georgia State Patrol, they're a huge supporter of us. We have a great working relationship with them. Commercial Vehicle Enforcement is your motor carrier division. They hold our emergency lane. So they'll be in the middle of the emergency lane, securing the emergency lane, and I'm not talking to Councilmember Hale, but please do not ride your bicycles in the emergency lanes. They're for emergency response only, and it's deadly for you to be in those if we have to respond somewhere. There's a great bike route throughout the city that you can utilize, and we encourage you to utilize that, but please try to stay out of that emergency lane. The Department of Natural Resources will be with us. They'll be on the beach again in their ATVs. It's very hot for them out there. So they'll be taking breaks randomly throughout the day here and there, but they will be on the beach alongside us helping. The Georgia Public Safety Training Center, they're very interesting. These are the officers that train us. That's where the police academy is. They are all sworn police officers. Last year we had some falling out from another agency that was supposed to stick with us throughout the whole weekend of the event and only could be with us for one day. So we scrambled, we pivoted, and we found the Georgia Public Safety Training Center, and they were very happy to come send officers down here to work and do police work and get out of the training facility. So they worked alongside us the whole weekend, and they did provide their SWAT team. They are graciously coming back again, and they're also bringing their SWAT team. Georgia State Arson Investigators. In 2023, we had a lot of calls for services, medical calls where the fire department and EMS had to move about the island, and they were sometimes attacked the same way as the police were. They're there for medical help, to help people, and they should not have had hands placed on them. So to protect our emergency services, EMS and fire department, we've asked Georgia Arson Investigators, who are sworn police officers, to come write calls for services with them. So they're protected, and it doesn't take the police department away from writing other calls for services around the island. So when they're writing these medical calls, they will have law enforcement personnel with them. The Chatham County Sheriff's Office will be back with us this year. They'll be with us the whole weekend instead of just Saturday. They're also going to supply us with a jailer and a transport van. So any arrestee that isn't booked and released from here will be transported to the Chatham County Sheriff's Department when the road is clear and safe for travel for a transport van with arrestees and officers. Liberty County Sheriff's Department is also graciously giving us a jailer to help out in the jail, to help with that booking process, because as you can see, we're bringing a lot of law enforcement down here. Arrests are going to be made. It's going to occur. It's going to happen. And as soon as we can get them in and out, it's best for all of us. So they're going to join us and help us again in that process. We will have the canines down. Here again, please encourage people to travel legally amongst the roads. Don't have anything in your vehicle that you should not have in your vehicle. Georgia State Patrol is supplying their aviation unit. We'll have at least one helicopter, possibly two. Here we utilize them to check the traffic flow along the Tybee Road on Wilmington Island to make sure, is there anybody outside of their vehicle that shouldn't be outside of their vehicle? How can we get the traffic moving faster? Eyes in the sky, and it's a great tool. Communications, we will have our communications 911 center. We have our own 911 center here. It'll be fully staffed with all of our communications officers. They will be here with us all weekend long, putting in the long hours too. Georgia State Patrol is also sending their communication bus with 2 radio operators so that they can handle the traffic from the Georgia State Patrol. So every traffic stop that's conducted, they're going to run your driver's license, they're going to run your tag, any weapons inside the vehicle, things of that nature. It takes a lot of weight off of our communication center where we're answering 911 calls for services, regular calls for services, and handling the radio traffic for all the other jurisdictions, including our jurisdiction. So Georgia State Patrol is going to bring their own communication. We will have 2 SWAT teams, like I mentioned before. The Georgia Public Safety Training Center is bringing their SWAT team, and so is the Georgia State Patrol. They were with us here last year, and they worked very well with us moving around the island. And you know, if we need them here and not stuck in traffic trying to get here. We will utilize our drones. We'll make sure to use them to gauge how much people are on the beach, any areas that we need to deploy them for safety reasons. If we need to get them up before an officer arrives, we definitely will do that. The license plate readers are all up and running. They're all around the island. We've had them forever and we'll continue to have them. So here again, if you're going to be riding on the island or traveling to and from the island, please make sure you're doing so legally, because we will be out there enforcing the scans from the license plate readers. We will host a security checkpoint. I've already touched on that, so please, make sure if you're traveling to the island that you're traveling and prepared to stop when you're asked to stop and present the credentials that you need to present. Our public information officer, Captain Randolph, will be here. He's going to handle the majority of all the information pushed out. We have a huge following on our social media, and we try to push out as much information as we possibly can and as quickly as we can. He's going to be working alongside Assistant City Manager Michelle Owens with the city to push out information not only on our website, but on the city website. So if you're not following the City of Tybee Island or the Tybee Island Police Department Facebook page, our web page, please do so, because there's going to be a lot of updates pushed out. If an event happens or occurs and an area has to be closed or shut down, we want to let you know as soon as possible, and that's what our public information officer will be doing. Just to touch on a few more things, like Sergeant Patrick stated, we will be utilizing the parking lots for our use. In the 15th Street parking lot, we will have our vehicle tow impound, just like we did last year. The records on the island that we secure are for police use only. If you own a business or you have a property and you don't want vehicles parked there and you want them removed from your private property, you need to secure a record company now, because the records that are coming are for police use. Those will be used for traffic stops and any vehicles blocking roadways that an emergency vehicle cannot get by. But if you own a business and someone parks in your private property, you need to make sure that you have already secured the services of a record company. And again, I just want to say thank you to all the citizens, our partners with the law enforcement agencies that help us through this weekend. It's a long weekend. We're putting in a lot of heavy hours. And if there's any complaints, comments, or concerns, I'm always here. I will address each and every single one of them. But right now, we're just hoping for a safe weekend.
Thanks, Chief Hayes. I didn't mention before, but we really couldn't do any of this. Again, we are all hands on deck, meaning all departments are working this weekend. But it really is an all community on deck. We have tons of community support. We have STR owners and hotel managers who have dedicated rooms for all the law enforcement coming in. We're going to have tons of volunteers out there at the cafeteria, cooking up food for everyone coming. They keep on coming back because of relationships that Chief Hayes has developed, but also because the island just treats our guests so well that they want to keep on coming back year after year. Key takeaways from today: barricades. You'll start to see them positioned on the street starting Monday, right? But they're not going to be blocking off the parking spaces. They're going to be basically staged on each of the blocks. They're going to start connecting those things really on a sort of Friday, maybe late Thursday, Friday sort of setup. Yeah. And so that's when you're going to start seeing parking impacts. Everyone who comes to Tybee is going to, we know they're going to be warm and friendly and out here to have a good time. For those who are not here to just have a good, friendly time, Chief Hayes is going to be in your business, so don't do it. Do we have any questions from anyone, either for myself or for Chief Hayes, Sergeant Patrick, or for Mr. Smalls? Yes?
One's for Chief Hayes.
Can you use the microphone?
You said that you have all these, other agencies coming out to help us. Do we have some kind of contract or something with them so they won't dump us like they've done in the past?
I don't know of anyone that's dumped us in the past, but no, we do not have contracts. It's a mutual aid and a friendship agreement for them to come assist us. But I'm not sure who you're speaking about that dumped us in
Well,
the past.
We were told before that those people were supposed to be there all weekend and then only were there like a day when it was really horrible. And I feel like they dumped the police department and left our little island to fend for itself.
No, that was last year. The sheriff's department joined us for one day last year when they were gonna join us for the whole weekend, but they had to pull out due to budget cuts and restraints, which I understand. And that's who we pivoted and scrambled to get the Georgia Public Safety Training Center, so they filled in. So, actually, we're gonna have more officers throughout the weekend this year.
Wonderful.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Last year, I think it was the west side of Butler was closed and you had to show ID to get, are we doing that again this year?
Yeah, we'll have, one of the Chief Hayes can elaborate if you want, but the, same setup as last year on the number of streets, to the west of Butler. We did not block off, the streets to the north of First Street, like Fifth Ave, Jones, Miller, and as a result, cars did go up there, and they ended up parking illegally on Solomon Avenue. And that was really one of our bigger sort of parking problems is cars need to be towed from Solomon. So we will be looking to block off those streets this year as well to protect those areas. Good question. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
So you're saying that the fifth to Lewis is gonna block and 80 there and Jones to 80? A Miller to 80?
Yes, ma'am. So, we will have Lewis Avenue at Highway 80 blocked. We'll have Miller Avenue at Highway 80 blocked, Second at Highway 80 blocked, and Lovell Avenue at Highway 80 blocked. Jones Avenue will be the access point for anything in the residential neighborhoods from Highway 80 south, including our strand lots, any of the AJs, anything like that. You'll need to enter at Jones Avenue. There will be police officers posted there at Jones Avenue to kind of control that intersection. But additionally, there will be restrictions on getting into that Solomon Avenue corridor, which is behind 6th Avenue North, 5th Avenue North, Miller, Jones, 2nd Avenue, all of that. Yes, sir.
Great, we'll be sticking around after for a few minutes.
I
Sorry.
got one more.
Oh.
What about like my employees that have to go all over the island, their license shows they live on Jones or they live on Lewis, or maybe they have to get to 18th and whatever, how, are they gonna be allowed to go to a client's house?
Yeah, there'll be city staff at all those, and they just say, hey, I'm an employee, I'm going to this address, and they'll let them through without a problem.
Wonderful, thank you.
Is Tybee gonna be blocked off and when does that start and when does that end?
So Tybee will be blocked off sometime Saturday morning, the day of the event. We are very conscious of that South End Business Overlay District, which would be 14th Street and South. In the past, we have had some issues around Tybee and Butler with beer trucks, delivery trucks, Coca-Cola, things of that nature, not being able to park on the side of the street. So we've been very conscious of that. We were waiting till the last minute that we feel that we can wait in order to close all of those off. And then Saturday morning, the decision to close off Tybee Street at any particular point will be made by the chief and command staff of the police department to close that down.
Will you have officers on foot patrolling Tybee on Saturday, the day of the event?
We will have officers out and around. I can't guarantee you there's gonna be officers out on foot. Like I said, if we are a department of 29, we're gonna be too short. 2 officers short, not saying we're gonna be too short, but we will be writing calls for services. So if we can't get out of our vehicle and walk, they'll be out in vehicles. But since we are responsible to write calls for services around the island, and that doesn't mean there's gonna be 27 officers on at one time. I have to split that between 2 shifts. So they will be out writing calls for services. You may or may not see them on foot. It just depends on how busy we are with calls for services. But we do split our officers up in between the islands. So some ride north end calls, some ride south end calls, so everyone doesn't get stuck on one end of the island.
My concern is I got a business on Tybee. That street's gonna be blocked. You know, you have no access to ride through and patrol. So we need a ground or foot presence. I'm not saying 24/7, but we need some kind of presence walking up and down that street to make sure we don't have any issues.
Right, and I can't guarantee you they're gonna be out there on foot. Like I said, we're responsible for calls for services. Any business can secure a deputy or an off-duty officer if they would like to do that and have their presence there. There's several amongst the island that do that already. I just can't sit here and tell you, yes, there's gonna be an officer there present walking up and down the street when we are responsible for calls for services. The state agencies are responsible for other duties, traffic, maintaining our emergency lane, DNR being on the beach, state arson investigators moving with the fire and ambulance services. So you will see officers, you just may not see them out on foot as much as you want present on Tybee Street.
Thank you all so much for coming today. Appreciate it, and we'll be around if anyone wants to come up and ask some personal questions. Thank you so much.